Welcome to InfoWhy, your go-to place for understanding the why behind the headlines. Today, we're going to talk about why Somalia has been in civil war for over 3 decades. But why? In this video, we break down the key reasons behind the conflict and its lasting impact. Stay tuned, and let's get into the video. The collapse of the Somali state and the overthrow of Siad Barre. The Somali civil war can be traced back to the collapse of the central government in 1991, when President Siad Barre was overthrown. Barre's regime, which had ruled since 1969, was initially seen as a stabilizing force but soon became authoritarian and corrupt. His policies of centralized power alienated many clans, leading to armed resistance. When his government finally fell, no strong political entity was in place to replace it, leading to chaos. The absence of a functioning central authority led to a power vacuum that different factions, clans, and warlords sought to fill, igniting prolonged conflict. The failure to establish a new, widely accepted government marked the beginning of Somalia's ongoing instability. Clan rivalries and warlordism. The fragmentation of power. One of the key reasons Somalia remains in conflict is the deep-rooted system of clans that has historically defined Somali society. After the fall of Barre's regime, various clans and sub-clans vied for power, leading to infighting. The absence of a strong national identity led to the rise of warlords who controlled territories through militias, often exploiting clan loyalties for political gain. These divisions prevented the formation of a unified government and fueled ongoing clashes. Even when attempts were made to broker peace, clan rivalries often undermined progress. Warlordism further entrenched instability, as different factions competed for dominance, leaving the country fragmented and without central leadership. The role of foreign interventions and geopolitics. Foreign interventions have played a significant role in prolonging Somalia's civil war. In the early 1990s, the United Nations and the United States intervened to provide humanitarian aid and restore order, but withdrew after suffering casualties in the infamous 1993 Black Hawk Down incident. Ethiopia and Kenya have frequently intervened, each supporting different factions based on their national interests. The African Union mission in Somalia, AMISOM, has attempted to stabilize the country, but external forces often struggle to maintain long-term peace. Additionally, Somalia's strategic location along the Horn of Africa has attracted global powers, including the US, China, and Gulf states, further complicating the situation. These geopolitical interests have often resulted in proxy conflicts that have deepened divisions rather than resolving them. The rise of al-Shabaab and extremist groups. The power vacuum in Somalia provided a breeding ground for extremist groups like al-Shabaab, which emerged in the mid-2000s as an offshoot of the Islamic Courts Union. Al-Shabaab capitalized on Somalia's instability, positioning itself as an alternative to the corrupt and ineffective government. It has waged an insurgency against both Somali authorities and international peacekeepers, using terrorism, assassinations, and guerrilla warfare to maintain influence. The group's ability to recruit young, disenfranchised Somalis has prolonged the conflict, making it difficult for the government to establish control. Despite efforts to weaken al-Shabaab through military campaigns, the group continues to exploit Somalia's weak governance and economic struggles to sustain its operations. Governance failures, corruption, and political instability. Attempts to rebuild Somalia's government have been hindered by internal corruption and political instability. Multiple transitional governments have struggled to gain legitimacy, as leaders are often accused of favoring their own clans or engaging in corrupt practices. Elections have been marred by allegations of fraud, and the Somali federal government has failed to exercise full control over the country. The lack of a reliable judiciary and law enforcement has allowed criminal networks and extremist groups to flourish. Moreover, the disconnect between the central government and regional administrations has fueled separatist movements, further dividing the nation. Without a strong and transparent government, efforts to stabilize Somalia remain challenging. Economic and humanitarian challenges. How conflict sustains itself. Somalia's prolonged conflict has led to devastating economic and humanitarian consequences. The destruction of infrastructure, lack of investment, and ongoing violence have crippled the economy. Many Somalis depend on international aid, but food insecurity, droughts, and displacement continue to create crises. Piracy along Somalia's coastline emerged as a result of economic desperation, further complicating international relations. Additionally, The lack of education and job opportunities has pushed many young people into joining militias or extremist groups as a means of survival. The ongoing humanitarian crisis makes it difficult for peace initiatives to succeed, as people remain focused on daily survival rather than long-term stability. The role of natural disasters and climate change. Environmental factors have played a significant role in Somalia's prolonged instability. Recurring droughts, floods, and desertification have exacerbated food shortages and displacement, fueling competition over scarce resources. Many pastoralist communities have struggled to sustain their livelihoods due to extreme weather conditions, leading to increased migration and conflicts between clans. Climate change continues to worsen the humanitarian crisis, making it harder for Somalia to achieve long-term stability. Without sustainable solutions, the impact of environmental disasters will further strain the already fragile social and economic fabric of the country. The influence of organized crime and illegal activities. Illegal activities such as piracy, arms smuggling, and human trafficking have flourished in Somalia due to the absence of a strong legal framework. The country's long coastline has become a hotspot for piracy, disrupting international shipping routes and attracting military responses from foreign nations. Criminal networks also engage in the illicit arms trade, providing weapons to militias and extremist groups. Human trafficking and drug smuggling further contribute to instability, as many individuals turn to these activities as a means of economic survival. Addressing these issues requires regional cooperation and stronger law enforcement mechanisms. The impact of displacement and refugee crises. Decades of conflict have led to mass displacement within Somalia and across its borders. Millions of Somalis have fled to neighboring countries such as Kenya, Ethiopia, and Yemen, creating one of the world's largest refugee crises. Internally displaced persons, IDPs, often live in overcrowded camps with limited access to basic services, increasing their vulnerability to disease and exploitation. The lack of a stable home environment has further fueled cycles of poverty and radicalization, as many young people grow up with little hope for the future. Efforts to provide sustainable solutions for displaced populations remain crucial in addressing Somalia's long-term challenges. The role of media and misinformation in the conflict. The role of media and misinformation has significantly influenced Somalia's conflict. Biased reporting, propaganda, and the spread of false narratives have deepened divisions among different factions. Social media platforms have also been used by extremist groups to recruit fighters and spread radical ideologies. While independent journalism has tried to shed light on the realities of the war, threats against journalists and media outlets have made it difficult to maintain free and objective reporting. Strengthening responsible media and countering misinformation are essential in promoting national unity and peace-building efforts. Conclusion. Somalia's three-decade-long civil war is the result of multiple interconnected factors, including state collapse, clan rivalries, foreign interventions, extremist insurgencies, political corruption, economic struggles, climate change, organized crime, displacement, and misinformation. Addressing these issues requires a comprehensive approach that involves local reconciliation, strong governance, economic development, and international support. Until these deep-rooted problems are tackled, Somalia will continue to face challenges in achieving lasting peace and stability.